Good morning, class 12 students. This is the final part of the chapter, The Tiger King, the fourth part. In today's session, we will be discussing the portion we covered in the last three videos, and also the remaining portion of the chapter. I think we are left with a few paragraphs now. Let me just remind you the story, The Tiger King. It is written by Kalki. Kalki is actually the pen name of the writer. His actual name is Krishnamurti Iyer, right? He actually has a very big name. So the pen name he uses is Kalki. So the story revolves around a tiger king whose death, his demise at the hands of a tiger was you know predicted by astrologers when he was born. And you will see that in this chapter he is trying to reverse the fate that was that came out as a prophecy. His fate, it came out as a prophecy by the astrologers that he would that he would die at the hands of a tiger. And this chapter is actually a satire that mocks the follies, shortcomings of the tiger king, that being in the power, that he misuses, he abuses his power, and instead of working for the welfare of the people, he is in a blind rage to kill 100 tigers. The chapter also tries to convey that prophecies are not always correct. It is a debatable topic whether the prophecy and astrology has anything to do with the reality or not. So it is debatable. We are not going to go we are not going to deviate from the standard today, right? We will be just focusing on the theme of the chapter, right? So the chapter is actually trying to put some sense into your mind that you don't need to do stupid things or things that is not acceptable when just by believing something what has nothing to do with reality. Same in the case of the chapter Tiger King. It was predicted that he would be killed by the 100 tiger, right? And what we see in the chapter at the end of the chapter, it is quite different. He was not actually killed by the actual tiger, right? So let's find out. But first, I will revise the portion that we covered in three lecture videos. So when Maharaja Jilani Jang Bahadur, when he was born, the astrologers foretold that one day the king would have to die, right? And this 10 days infant, when he was 10 days old, and he actually spoke, which was a miracle, and it was very extraordinary that a 10 days infant spoke. And he did not just speak, he actually raised very logical questions, and he said that everyone who is born has to die one day. And he shows his concern on knowing that how he would be killed, how he would be killed. He wanted to know that, which astrologer did not reveal in the beginning, right? And the way he asked the question, everybody was taken aback. Okay, so when the astrologers were compelled, they revealed that the prince, he had born in an hour of the bull, and as bull and tiger, there are enemies, right? Therefore, his death will come from a tiger. So when and then the chapter actually took a jump, and we see that Maharaja grew stronger. And when he got his kingdom back, because he was an infant, so his kingdom was in custody of East India Company, the court of ward, right? So when he was given his kingdom to rule, when he turned 20, he came to know about this this prevalent rumor that everybody knew about, that the king would be killed by the tiger, right? So he took to tiger hunting, and he killed the first tiger. And then he called the chief astrologers about it, and the chief astrologers told him that he may be able to kill 10, 20, or even the 99 tiger, but he must be careful with the 100 tiger, as his death would be brought by the 100th one. And he also vowed that if this prophecy fails, if it turns out to be fail or false, the astrologer would cut his hair, he would burn his book on astrology, and he would become an insurance agent. So ever since since then, the king banned the tiger hunting in his jurisdiction, in his kingdom, Pratibandampuram. Nobody was even allowed to throw stone at the tigers. Understand? And then he started killing the tigers, and in 10 years he killed 70 tigers. Right? He killed 70 tigers, and consequently, the tiger population became extinct at Pratibandampuram. And this is where we actually need to think. We need to ponder over that sometimes humans action, they lead to and they cause problem to other animals and other species that inhabited this planet, because we are not the only one who have right over this planet. There are other species, there are million of species who also have equal right on this planet. So sometimes we, in our rage, because we are the intelligent one, we destroy, and we are actually posing a threat to other species, right? So I think if you will look this way, you can actually understand that how wrong the Tiger King is. Understand? So, and then when the population of tiger became extinct, the king was his hunting, his tiger hunting came to a stoppage, right? It came to a halt. So the Tiger King came to a solution, that he would marry a girl, he would marry a princess, where a princess who would come from a kingdom where the population of tiger is uh, suitably enough, right? And before that, the before this, an incident happened when the king was on the verge of losing his kingdom. He was visited by a British officer, and the British officer liked to be photographed with the tiger that he shot. So he requested for the permission. He requested the Tiger King that he should be allowed to hunt a tiger in Pratibandampuram, but the king refused. And then the British officer requested again that he just want to be photographed with the dead tiger. The tiger could be killed by the Maharaja himself, right? But the Maharaja even denied to this permission because he knew that this will attract more British officer. And then he was on the verge of losing his kingdom, because in those times the king, they were actually they were scared of the British rule and the British officers, right? Because actually they had a power. So the king, the so the the king had the king could have lost his kingdom. So in order to prevent this this consequence, the king decided, and then the king wrote to a famous jeweler in Calcutta, and he asked for 5 or 6 diamond rings, so that he could select one or two, right? And then he parceled this all the diamond rings to the wife of British officer, who wanted to be photographed with the tiger. And the British officer's wife, she actually kept all the diamond jewelries, and it cost the Tiger King 3 lakh rupees. But eventually the Tiger King was happy because he was able to save his kingdom. And then he married a new princess. And then every time he would every time he visit whenever he would visit his father-in-law's house, he would kill like 3 to 4 tiger, and this way he was able to complete he was able to hunt 99 tiger. Now the tally is 99. He is only left he is now have to kill only one tiger. He is now only has to kill one tiger. So let's find out how he kills the last tiger and what problem he faces before killing the 100 tiger. So now it's time for us to begin with the begin with the remaining portion of the chapter. I think we are just the tiny portion is remaining now. Okay, let me just highlight the paragraph for you so that you could actually keep the track of the chapter. Okay, so the Maharaja's anxiety reached a fever pitch when there remained just one tiger to achieve his tally of 100. So, his anxiety, because he has already killed how many tigers? He has killed only 99 tigers. So, it means he was just one tiger away in order to to prove the prophecy false. Understand? So he was so, he was excited, and he was anxiety, he had got worry, he was anxious, right? But what happened? He had this one thought during the day and the same dream at night. By this time the tiger farms had run dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. But unfortunately, for the king, the population of tiger ran out in even in his father-in-law's kingdom. So it became impossible to locate tigers anywhere, yet only one more was needed. If he could kill just that one single beast, the Maharaja would have no fears left, right? So they could not find a single tiger, as he is just supposed to kill one. And now and the Maharaja has to kill only one in order to free himself from the fear, right? So he could give up tiger hunting altogether, and I think this is very pointless. When you have killed so many tigers, what is the point of giving up? I mean, you can't say that you want to give up hunting altogether. So but he had to extremely careful with the last tiger, who had the late chief astrologer said, even after king 99 tiger, the Maharaja should be beware of the 100. And this time the king is being very cautious, and he's taking all precautions, because as it was told by the state astrologer, that the 100th tiger would mark his death. So true enough, the tiger was a savage beast after all. One had to be wary of it, but where was the 100th tiger to be found? It seemed easier to find tiger's milk than a live tiger. This is something, he is exaggerating. Exaggerating means this is something he wants to prove his point, that the tiger population actually, they decline in such an extent that it was completely impossible to find a one single tiger in Pratibandhapuram and in nearby kingdoms and jungles, right? So thus the Maharaja was sunk in gloom. He sunk in gloom means he was completely sad and disappointed. Understand? Because he was just he was just one step away from from proving the prophecy false. Understand? So let's find out what he is trying to and what he will do. So, but soon came the happy news which dispelled. Dispel means remove that gloom, and that actually the darkness, the sadness was removed soon. In this own state, sheep began to disappear frequently from a hillside village, and the king got to know that in his kingdom, and in a remote village, uh, you know, a ship somebody is eating sheep, right? Sheep. So it was first ascertained. Ascertain means to find out that this was not the work of Khader Mian Sahib or Virasami Naikar, both famed for their ability to swallow sheep whole, right? So these are actually two follows who are who have previously stolen sheep because they were fond of eating mutton or lamb, right? So the Maharaja was sure that it was not the work of these two people. So the Maharaja announced a 3-year exemption from all taxes from that village and set out on a hunt at once. So Maharaja was so pleased that he even, exempt means to free from. He even exempted the people of the village from paying any taxes. So the tiger was not easily found. It seemed as if it had wantonly hid itself in order to flout the Maharaja's will. So, in this paragraph, we have two difficult words in case you are not aware. And wantonly wantonly means it is pronounced as wantonly, which mean intentionally. And then we have flout means to refuse or to obey, right? So it seemed that the last tiger in the village, he hid himself, right? because he was aware of Maharaja's will that he wanted to kill him. The Maharaja was equally determined, but the Maharaja was also strong willed, and he refused to leave the forest until the tiger was found. As the days passed, the Maharaja's fury and obstinacy means, you know, when you are kind of determined to do something, right? Uh, Here it means determination. Mountain alarmingly many officers lost their jobs. So Maharaja is looking for the last tiger, but it is actually difficult to trace the last tiger. And even the Maharaja has decided that he will not leave the forest until and unless he has killed the last tiger. And he became so fury means he became so angry because he was so determined, right? So most many officers, they lost their jobs because of king's rage. One day when his rage was at his height, the Maharaja called the Diwan and ordered him to double the land tax forthwith. And then again we see that the king is not at all just. We see that how he is, treating the villagers, because initially he exempted them from the tax, and now he has doubled the land tax, right? Forthwith, from then. uh, so the king is it doesn't seem that the king is very just, right? The people will become discontented, and then our state too will fall a prey to the Indian National Congress. In that case, you may resign from your post, said the king. So the his ministers, they actually they try to uh, you know they tried to tell the king that he cannot double the tax, because if he will do this, the people will become discontented. They will not be satisfied, and it is likely the state will fall under the custody of the Indian National Congress. But the king was not ready to listen to his minister, and he told him that if he cannot do it, he may resign. So the Diwan went home convinced that if Maharajas did not find the tiger soon, the result could be catastrophic. Catastrophic means disaster. Now the Diwan was aware, the minister was aware that the king has to be given the last tiger no matter what, otherwise the consequence will be very disastrous, right? So he felt life returning to him only when he saw the tigers which had been brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. So, because this is called, when you have no options left, because they have turned all the stones, but they could not find a solution. So, luckily, the Divan, he spotted a tiger in a park in Madras, right? And so he brought the tiger in his house, and at midnight, when the town slept in peace, the Diwan and his aged wife dragged the tiger to the car and showed it into the seat. The Diwan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. And Diwan and his wife, they brought the tiger from the Madras park, and they let the tiger go into the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. So that's how you can say that these are actually the desperate means, because the tiger population is so extinct now because of the king, that even the only tiger who is left in the park in Madras is being brought. So when they reached the forest, the tiger launched its satyagraha and refused to get out of the car. So when they reached the forest, this tiger seems lethargic and very old, because he did not, satyagraha, it is actually called a protest. Here it is a protest. The tiger protested, and the tiger did not come out. So the minister was thoroughly exhausted. Exhausted means he was tired because he was pushing it. They were trying to lift the beast, and can you imagine, they're actually touching the beast and they're trying to pull it up. So you can actually imagine that how dumb, how domesticated this tiger is. It is actually a pet tiger. It is like a pet dog, right? So they try to push it down and down. This chapter, you see that they are actually treating the tiger as if they are like useless, right? They are non-existent. But children, you must understand that all the animals, they must be protected. So on the following day, the same old tiger wandered into Maharaja's presence and stood as him, if in humble supplication, "Master, what do you command of me?" So the next day, as planned, the tiger came, right? The tiger was spotted. And the tiger, the tiger came, and he came to the spot, and he stood there. The humble supplication means, like, as if he was asking for something, right? Or a humble request, ki, king, o king, shoot me, right? Supplication is an act of asking for something, right? In a very polite manner. So, master, what do you command of me? Diwan asked. It was with boundless joy, and boundless joy means the king was so happy because he was so desperate and frustrated. So the Maharaja took a careful aim at beast. The tiger fell in a crumble heap, and when he shot the tiger, crumble is shrunk. He the tiger died, and it means the tiger fell, right? And he kind of shrunk because he's dead in pain. I have killed the 100 tiger. My vow has been fulfilled. And the king shouted that, yes, I am successful now. Nobody can kill me. I have killed the 100 tiger. The Maharaja was overcome with elation. Elation means happiness. Elation, happiness. Ordering the tiger to be brought to the capital in grand procession, and he ordered that the tiger king would be, the carcass of tiger would be brought to the capital of Pratibandhapuram to his state in a grand procession. Procession means when you see the gathering of mass people, right? So Maharaja hastened. Hasten means he rushed in a hurry in his car, and after the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a closer look at the tiger, and the tiger looked back at them, rolling its eyes in bafflement. Bafflement means surprise. So Maharaja left because he was so happy, he was so overwhelmed. And when the hunters, when they went to went to have a look at the tigers, they found the tiger was not dead. His eyes were rolling. The men realized the tiger was not dead. The bullet had missed it. So it means the tiger king missed his bullet. The king did not kill the 100 tiger, right? And it had fainted from the shock of the bullet whizzing past. And the tiger did not died. He just crumbled. He fell on the ground because the tiger was very old, and the sound of the bullet, that went whizzing past, right, him, it fainted him, right? So the hunters wonder what they should do. They decided that the Maharaja must not come to know that he had missed the target. And the hunters, they decided, because they were already aware of the rage of the king, so they decided they would not tell about this to king. So if he did, they could lose their jobs, because the king is so cranky that they may even fire them, right? So they were silent. So one of the hunters took aim from a distance of 1 foot and shot the tiger. So who actually killed the tiger? It were the hunters who killed the tiger, not the king, because tiger's king bullet missed its mark. The tiger fainted because of the sound of the bullet, right? So then, as commanded by the king, the dead tiger was taken in procession, though through the town, and buried, right? So the carcass of the tiger, the dead body of the tiger, was brought in procession, and then it was buried, and they even erected a tomb, right? A few days later, Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated. Until then, the Maharaja had given his entire mind over to tiger hunting. Now it's Maharaja's. Now the chapter again jumped forward. So now it's Maharaja's son's third birthday, and they are celebrating it, right? And the Tiger King has forgotten about what, about the tiger hunting, because he believes that he has already killed the 100 tiger, but it is not. So he had no time to spare for the crown prince, but now the king turned his attention to the child, because earlier he was busy in tiger hunting, so he was not paying attention to his son, but now he is paying full attention to his child, and it is his third birthday. So he wished to give him some special gift on his birthday. He went on to the shopping centers in Pratibandhapuram and searched every shop, but could not find anything suitable. Finally, he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift. So as it is his son's birthday, he is looking for a present to gift his son, but he could not find anything in Pratibandhapuram. So finally, luckily, he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop, and he decided that this would make a perfect gift. Okay, he would make a perfect gift. So the wooden tiger cost only 2 annas. Annas, those currency were very, so actually he paid 2 annas and a quarter for the wooden tiger. But the shopkeeper knew that if he quoted such a low price to the Maharaja, he would be punished under the uh, you know rules of the emergency. So he said, Your Majesty, this is an extremely rare example of craftsmanship, and this is again we see something very idiotic. The he did not because the shopkeeper quoted that he quoted such a low price because according to Maharaja's rule he would be punished under the rules of the emergency. That is why he told Maharaja that it was extremely rare example of craftsmanship. That is why he actually took 2 annas and a quarter. In those times 2 annas were very expensive, right? So a bargain at 300 rupees. So they bargain it at for 300 rupees. Can you, I mean, something which is for 2 annas and a quarter, right? Even those time 2 annas were very expensive, but I can you imagine the king actually the shopkeeper asked for 300 rupees for you know for the wooden tiger, because he could not less, because if he would have asked 2 annas and a quarter, he would have he would have been punished, right? He would be punished, sorry. So very good, and let this be your offering to the crown prince on his birthday, said the king, and took it away with him. And I think he did not even pay. He just said that it could be the offering to the to the crown prince on his birthday. On that day, the father and son played with the, and this is the important part, just pay attention to it. This actually reveals a very satirical end of the chapter, and it is actually the I believe, right? So what happened in the end? The Tiger King, when he presented his son the wooden tiger, they both played with it, and when they were playing it, the because this actually it wasn't the masterpiece. This was not being carved properly or by professional. The wooden tiger was carved by an unskilled carpenter. That is why its surface was very rough, and tiny silvers of wood stood up like a uh, like gills all over it, right? And one of those silver pierced the Maharaja right hand, and that's how the Maharaja injured himself with the tiny silver of wood, because it was not perfectly crafted. Understand? So he pulled it out with his hand and continued to play with the prince. So the Maharaja, he pulled it out. He pulled the tiny silver of wood, and he started playing. He did not pay attention to his wound. And the next day, what happened? This infection, it flared. Flared means escalated in Maharaja's right hand, and in 4 days, it developed into a suppurating sore which spread all over the arm, and it turned out to be it turned into an infection. Okay, sorry, actually the correct pronunciation of suppurating is suppurating, right? So suppurating is actually it's which means to fester, right? And yes, or which we also call the formation of pus, right? Or we say in infection, right? So it spread all over his arm, suppurating, right? And three famous surgeons were brought in from Madras. After holding a consultation, they decided to operate. They tried to operate it, and the three surgeons who performed it came out of the theater and announced the operation was successful. The Maharaja is dead, right? And again, this is satirical and it's very humorous. The three surgeons were called in order to perform the surgery, and they said the surgery was successful, but however, the king died, right? So in this manner, the 100 tiger took its final revenge upon the tiger. So actually, uh, whether the prophecy is true or not, but the king was killed by that 100 tiger, right? So that's all we have in this chapter. We will be discussing the question answers in the last part of the chapter, and most so this is actually, you can say that it's actually the dramatic irony in the story, that we see the dramatic irony here, that he was actually killed by the wooden tiger. So children, please go through the homework, do it, complete it. In case you have any queries or question, you know how to approach me. We will also be discussing the chapter in online Zoom class, so this is where you can raise your queries. And in case you have any doubt, you know how to approach me. And please, it is mandatory that you attend all Zoom class and complete your homework. You cannot skip it, right? Skipping homework and not attending the Zoom class is punishable. I mean, it is actually you're punishing yourself, because you will be at loss. You will, you will lost uh, the important teaching of the chapter and certain things. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.